At the same time, we brought in a completely new way of making marine shipping safer with the Ocean Protections Plan. And what that's going to do is make shipping safer for all shipping. But particularly to modernize the way that we're doing that, to make sure we can avoid any type of impacts from that project.
Thank you. And thank you over there in the green vest for your patience. It is your moment. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. Well, first of all, this time last year, I was sitting where you were. So it's not easy. I know how you're feeling right now. And yeah, kudos to you guys for being here. My question is, Prime Minister Trudeau recently announced that Canada will be phasing out single-use disposable plastics by the year 2021. How will you help Whistler achieve these goals and work towards zero waste? Sorry.
Who is it directed to? Yeah.
Dana first and Patrick second.
Okay, thanks.
I have to say I have no specific suggestions or to respond to to directly do that, except to say that where federal funds and support are available, it would be a priority to make that happen. I would expect that the overall intention from the existing plan would be to coordinate that with all sources and gatherers of these goods. And as my colleague down here, Gordon, said earlier, the single-use plastics have become an abomination in terms of practice wherever they need to be gathered, recycled, and disposed of. So where funds are available, we'd certainly seek that. It's certainly part of a total recycle program and would make every effort to ensure that occurred in this and every other community.
So when we're talking about phasing out single-use plastics, one of the key things is we need to make sure there's alternatives available. So I think we need to look to places that have already been able to do this successfully. I had a meeting with the Horseshoe Bay Business Association, and they've been able to transfer their members away from using plastic bags by providing some alternatives. And one of the NGOs they worked with to do this is an NGO called Ocean Ambassadors. So I'd really suggest that as an opportunity for Whistler to learn from how they did that. And I think one of the things we need to consider also when we're banning single-use plastics in Canada, this is a truly global issue. 90% of ocean plastics actually come from 10 rivers in the world, 8 of which are in Asia. So we need to also support other countries to move away from using single-use plastics to really make a huge dent on reducing the amount of plastic that gets into the ocean. So I think really things that we need to do, we need to provide more information, we need to make sure we have access to alternatives, and we need to make sure that those can be compostable too.
I was asking about here in Whistler.
You know what? Can't do over. Sorry, we just got to keep rolling. The next question is for Gabrielle, followed by Gordon. What's your opinion on dirty politics, negative campaigning, and attack ads?
I love these questions. They suck. They really do. I don't know if you've noticed, but I haven't said one disparaging mouth out to any person who's running against me for this position. I haven't made one negative ad, and I have no intention of doing that in this entire campaign. When I met my campaign manager back in May, I said, I will only do this if we do not run one single negative thing. Because I think everyone is sick and tired of the finger pointing. And it's not like these parties who have been in power for umpteen years, and I feel for the man who has been let down by them, yes, you, that I feel really sad for them, but at the same time, it's like, don't you have anything better to say other than slamming the last guy? He did his best job. Let him, whatever happened, happened. Our system is so broken in so many ways that I think it's time we do get some MPs in Ottawa that will actually look at the sandbox that these kids are playing in and say, stop throwing sand at each other. Let's just sit down and together build a sandcastle. I'm sick and tired of it myself.
I find attack ads distasteful and un-Canadian. However, I do think it's very important to call out reprehensible behavior, which I think is exhibited by all the major parties. I think it's funny that that she said all that because I don't believe it. I don't believe anything they tell me anymore, and I don't know if you blame me for that, but I don't care. I'm here to tell the truth. So yeah, what do I think of dirty politics? I think I've made my position fairly clear on that. I also think it's a bit of a shame that, well, there were 4 people on this stage with fresh ideas. Only one of them is really getting a platform, and it's based on people's fear. So yeah, it's kind of sad. You're just using the opportunity to give 3 other people a platform to keep pulling the wool over your eyes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. This next question is for Patrick first, then Dana. How can we support Canadian tech students? Technology is the future, and our tech students are leaving Canada to find jobs in the U.S.
I think the tech sector is going to be one of the most critical sectors for our economy going forward. I was just reading a report yesterday that showed that the investment in the tech center in Canada in the last quarter was the biggest investment we've had in a quarter since the year 2000, which was when we were at the dot-com bubble. So I know there's been a huge amount of growth in this sector, particularly in Vancouver. We're well placed because we have a lot of the satellite offices of companies that are in the Cascadia region, like Amazon, like Microsoft. There's definitely a lot of room for growth there. So we need to be doing everything we can to support that sector to continue to grow. One of the programs that was brought in over the last 4 years was a program across Canada called the Digital Superclusters, the Superclusters program. And the cluster that was set up for BC was set up in Vancouver. It was the Digital Tech Supercluster. And the idea of this is to actually build a supporting ecosystem of companies so you can get the next Hootsuite or the next great Canadian tech company. And we need to do everything we can to make sure that when these companies get bigger and bigger, that they don't just get bought out by a company in Silicon Valley and then have all the jobs leave to go to another country. So quite personally, I know a lot of students that are graduating with computer science degrees are very well placed to have a high-paying job. My partner just graduated with a business technology management degree, and there's plenty of opportunity out there. So I think we're developing those type of companies already, but we need to be making sure that we have all the support there so they can continue to grow and they don't move elsewhere.
All right, thank you. And we're going to go to the mics. Oh, I'm sorry, Dana. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, we're at rebuttal. Sorry about that. Thank you. It is getting late. All right, there you go.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'll be quick, or try to. It'll be 1 minute. The tech sector, first of all, the short answer is green economy. The technical jobs in the green economy, are 5 to 9 to 1 than they are in any of the traditional industries, and specifically underscoring oil and gas industry, which is why anybody embraces that or hangs on to it as long as they do is ridiculous, because the opportunity is here as we migrate to the new economy. That's evidence. Go to my website. Look at the video. There's a gentleman on there who's created 80 tech jobs because he's migrated to the new economy in terms of providing services and products for retrofitted buildings. That alone is $1 trillion industry. Go to retrofitting buildings, and it involves technical people because the trades are migrating to new technologies as well. The jobs are here, we just have to do them.
Ooh, nicely done. Okay. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. This will be for Patrick and then Gabrielle to rebuttal. One of the larger issues in the last election was Bill C-51 and the Liberal support of it. The Liberals promised us meaningful consultation after they were elected. That meaningful consultation gave us tens of thousands of responses, which were overwhelmingly against it, which the Liberals ignored. Recently, Minister Goodale, the Public Safety Minister, has proposed ending
You need to make a question happen here.
ending protection for encryption. Will your government bring forward legislation to open backdoors into encryption?
Yeah, sorry, I have to say I'm not familiar with this bill C-51. So, yeah, I would have to look into that and get back to you, so I can't speak to the details of that. Sorry.
I have no idea what it is either, but you know what? If it's on encryption and no, seriously, we have it. I have nothing on this. You know what? That's one of the things that I think, and I thank Patrick for making that comment. Too many times people try to give you an answer without actually knowing what the hell they're talking about. So I don't know what I'm talking about, but I will get back to you too.
Okay, and we're going to come back to the program. But thank you. Okay, because we got to get through. I think there is a gentleman at the mic. We're going to take this last question because we need time for these folks to have their closing statements.
I'm going to read to you a quote by the co-chair of the IPCC, Dr. Ottmar Endenhofer. And I want Dana and Doug to tell me if you agree or not. We, the UN IPCC, redistribute de facto the world's wealth by climate policy. One has to free oneself from the illusion that international climate policy is environmental policy. This has almost nothing to do with environmental policy anymore. Do you agree or not?
Dana, then Doug.
I sort of asked, but could you repeat the basic question? Just
Here's what Dr.
Yeah.
Ottmar Endenhofer, IPCC co-chair, Working Group 3, in November 13th, 2010, said, we, the UN IPCC, redistribute the world's wealth by climate policy. One has to free oneself from the illusion that international climate policy is environmental policy. This has almost nothing to do with environmental policy anymore. Do you agree?
I have a lot of opinions. If I had to answer yes or no, I'd probably say no. And why I'd say no is because the reality is it focused on distribution of world's wealth is impacted by numerous other things, including the last 4 decades of so-called globalization. There are a number of things that are impacted, of which climate policy, climate change is merely a part. I would want to have all of them on the table before I tried to answer whether one influenced something more than another.
Thank you.
Yes, that seems to be a very, very rare moment of clarity and truth. And I agree with that statement. I would go further and say that this has been not really an environmental issue since Morris Strong wrote the terms of reference that were given to the IPCC at the time that this climate boondoggle began. And I would tell you further that there is a growing number of people that are coming to the realization that this is not about climate, it's not about health or environment, it's about control by the UN of national sovereignty, and we at the PPC stand full square against the United Nations taking over Canadian decision-making and impeding our sovereignty. That's about all I have to say.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we are going to move into final comments. Ollie, I'm going to give you a second to reset that timer to 1:30. Each of you have a minute and 30. We're just going to reset that so you can see the correct time as you're counting down. I'm going to quickly remind all of you of the order, and then we'll get started. So the order in terms of closing comments will be Patrick, followed by Judith, Doug, Dana, Gabrielle, and Gordon. So as soon as you're ready there, Ollie, we'll get going. I love technology.
So when we look back at the last 4 years, let's remember what's been done. Economic growth this year reached 3.7%, created over 1 million jobs. We have the lowest unemployment rate we've ever had, and we have the lowest debt to GDP ratio of any country in the G7. We created a $5 billion industry out of nowhere by legalizing cannabis. We've made historic investments in tech, in clean tech, and in public infrastructure. We did this at a time where we brought in a leading climate strategy. We're going to get to net zero emissions by 2050. We've restored trust in our environmental laws. We're phasing out single-use plastics, and we've doubled the amount of protected areas across the country. We've also been focused on making life more affordable for all Canadians. The average middle-class family is $2,000 better off than they were before, and the Canada Child Benefit has raised 300,000 kids out of poverty. But there's much to do from here. So if I'm elected, I'm going to look forward to getting more federal funding for housing here in Whistler. I'm going to work with the Chamber and other partners here to help address some of the labor shortages. And I'll make sure that infrastructure flows to serve the needs that the communities have here. I want to see if I can work with the resort municipality here and other ones across the country to create a pilot program that specifically focus on the type of issues that resort municipalities have. I think in this election we have a clear choice. We can go back to the Harper policies, or we can choose forward, invest in the economy, invest in Canadians, and invest in our...
Thank you. Judith.
I think this election offers an opportunity for people to make a statement about who we are as people and where we'd like to see our country to go. I would like us to make the statement to the world in this coming election that we do regard the climate crisis as a crisis, and I'd like to see us vote for a party, like the New Democratic Party, that makes action on climate change central to its economic development program. I would also like to have us as people make the statement that we want to be leaders in the kind of country that can actually meet the needs of people. I want to stand on the shoulders of the Jack Laytons of this world and the Tommy Douglases who helped to take us forward in terms of social policy. So send me to Ottawa to bring home action on climate change, to bring action on housing, affordable childcare, dental care, farmer care, and an end to tuition for post-secondary education. These are things that are within our reach. They are within the things that we not only can just dream about, but we can actually make them happen, and we can get the money by taxing the ultra-rich and going after the money, the billions that's in offshore tax havens. I ask for your vote.
Thank you. Now we're down to you, Doug.
Are you tired of the same thing over and over again from the Liberals and Conservatives? Sounds like Gordon a bit, doesn't it? They say anything to get elected because they lack values and they lack integrity. So how can you, as a voter, keep doing the same thing and expect a different result? The People's Party of Canada will reduce immigration, lower your taxes, and fight political correctness. A PPC government born of the grassroots movement sweeping this great land will get Canada back on track. No longer will profiteers be setting the agenda and crafting narratives to maintain the destructive status quo. A vote for the People's Party is a vote for fundamental political change in this country. It's time to take back control. Our membership comes to us from all of the old, tired parties. They come to us because they've had enough of the circle of insanity and they're looking for a positive and meaningful future. The People's Party of Canada is the only sensible alternative to our dysfunctional political situation. On October 21st, vote for integrity. Vote People's Party of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you. Dana Taylor.
Thank you. Elect a Liberal or Conservative, and what you get is a bench warmer, neutered by their party's whip, whether the caucus chair, the leader, and ordered to jump up and vote as told and when told. And today, suddenly the Liberals have discovered climate change. and the climate emergency, and are so desperate for votes, their leader dresses up behind a Green Party logo, a green logo. The Green Party of Canada matches the NDP line by line on social justice issues and exceeds them on issues like guaranteed income. Our platform is fully costed, unlike the Liberals who simply throw numbers out when and if they wish in the hopes to attract some attention and some votes. If you really want to vote strategically, vote Green. As your Member of Parliament, I will respect your wishes and not be dictated to by the boardrooms of foreign-owned oil companies in Calgary, the banks in Toronto, and the too big to fail transnationals in Montreal. I will listen to and respect your wishes and give our leader, Elizabeth May, the support she deserves to not only transition our economy from fossil fuel capture to clean renewable energy, but to help to restore the integrity and transparency to Parliament and our threatened democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Gabrielle?
If we've learned anything from our time here today is that no matter what the issue, everyone up here has their eye on a better Canada. How we differ is how we are going to attack the issues. From my perspective, we need a government that works for us, not against us, a government that tries to make our lives more affordable, makes it easier to save for our retirement, easier for our children to go to school, easier to hire people and grow our businesses. And with that in mind, the Conservative plan includes a number of tax cuts, which includes the universal tax cut, the green transit tax cut, increasing the age amount for senior citizens, cutting off the GST on home heating fuels, making tax-free maternity benefits, and increasing the amount that the government subsidizes RESP contributions. But for businesses, the biggest one is that your spouse is important in your business, and therefore income splitting for spouses would be brought back, along with a reduction in red tape. I think the Conservative government is what this riding needs, but it needs a member of Parliament with that tag, with that party, that actually will stand up and do what's best for the riding based on your wishes. I am action-based, results-oriented, and accountable, and I'd like to be that person.
Thank you. And Gordon Jeffrey.
I've lived here for 10 years, and barring rent eviction to make way for Airbnb revenues, I hope to live out the rest of my years here. It's kind of funny, this is the best organized of all the debates, but we've had by far the least diversity of ideas. But I'm undeterred. I will not give up on you, regardless of whether you give me a chance. And I will hold whichever one of these jokers makes it in accountable. I'm very tired of only being considered a voter, a consumer, and a taxpayer. We are citizens and we are constituents. We need to ban lobbying outright. We need improved regulations and increased investigative powers for rooting out corruption. And we need much steeper punishments for political corruption. And we need that electoral reform we were promised 4 years ago. I don't care if they can't gerrymander things as well as they have it under the current system. That's the whole point. I'm fully committed not only to bringing accountability back to politics, but to restoring all Canadians' faith in democracy. I know this is a tough task, but I don't care. This is my life's purpose. Don't vote for the lesser evil. Do not vote for evil. Do not support evil. Follow your heart. Use your mind. Vote for good. It feels great. If you want to vote for the Liberals or the Nonsense and Deficits Party, please vote Green. If you want to vote for the Conservatives, please vote PPC. If you've had enough of it all, vote for me. Thank you.
Okay. Well, there we have it. So I would like to finish up the evening by thanking Pique Newsmagazine and the Whistler Chamber team for bringing this together and making it possible. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Arts Whistler team. Dean, awesome on the mics, man. Nailed it. Of course, I want to deeply thank the candidates for standing up to run, for doing the tour to Sea to Sky and Sea Shelt. And I know it is arduous and taxing, and thank you for showing up here respectfully and civilly with passion from wherever you stand. Thank you very, very much. And thanks to all of you. It's always nice to see this building so full. We do theater and music and all kinds of other really cool stuff. This is also extremely entertaining. But those of you who used it for date night, you need some work. You need some work. Okay, so thank you very much for being here. Ollie, we've got that slide you're going to bring up, right? Do we have that? Great. So please, obviously, you're here. You're committed to voting. You know, it's not perfect. We know we are not in a perfect place, but this is what we have. Please encourage other people to exercise their democracy. And if they do not listen to their complaining after the fact. So there are advance polls, and of course, the main day on October 21st. Do like our friends in Florida. Please vote early, vote often, do whatever you have to do. But vote. It matters. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much.